just squeeze your tits together. I don't see what the big deal is. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the S3 Magazine podcast. Today we're talking about, well, the same guy that we talk about a lot, Jim Farley. I swear to God, this guy is going to punch me in the face if he ever sees me at SEMA or just walking around somewhere in Michigan one day. He's going to be like, that's that, and he's going to just wail on me, and I'm going to deserve it. Anyway, we're talking about Jim Farley over at Ford today. It looks like they are doing some... I'm gonna preface it like this: it's good and bad. They are. I don't even know how to get into this. All right, so I just will. He basically had a closed door meeting with a bunch of dealers recently where they didn't. They showed renderings out there of some ideas that they have, specifically Jim Farley's vision of what he has for what they're calling the Mustang sub brand, and that's the part that rubs me the wrong way because I'm just a crotchety old purist. But the idea that they're looking to expand on the gas-powered vehicle lineup with cool stuff like a four-door coupe and a 4x4 off-roader and all sorts of other cool shit is awesome. I love that part of it. But Jesus, I hate the fact that we're going down this whole sub-brand thing where we're just not using names in the traditional sense. I'm already calling them that. GM was talking about this a couple of months ago where they were saying, oh, you're going to have an EV SUV Corvette and we're going to have a whole Corvette sub-brand because they basically just want to use the name of the iconic vehicle. Now, why are they doing that? Hell if I know, man. I mean, part of me thinks that it's all about appeasing an algorithm and making it as search engine friendly as possible so that when you're Googling stuff like Mustang, all of a sudden their new model pops up. But my thing is, like, there's so many awesome names out there, not only just like cool names in general, but ones that Ford has used in the past. I mean, you've got like the Galaxy, the Fairlane, the Marauder, the Falcon, the Gran Torino. There's so many cool names that we could bring back. And the fact that they're just not using that is irritating. The fact they're just using Ford, in my opinion, kind of dilutes it and kind of just like, I don't know. I don't like it. And I'm droning on and I'm saying too much. So Wooly, jump in here. Please save me.
I think you just made a typo in what you were saying. You said the fact that they're using Ford. I think you meant to say the fact that they're using Mustang. So if
Mustang,
anybody
sorry.
didn't get that, they seem obsessed with sub brands, and that seems to be something that, like you said, GM is on that page too. It's like they're trying to figure out how to exploit. Is that the right word? Like,
Yeah.
iconic names in the 21st century digital electronic era. And, maybe it comes down to what Nick Colaroso said. The best cars have kind of already been made, and we kind of know that. And it's getting harder and harder to distinguish between different cars now. That a lot of them drive the same. They drive electronic. They've gotten very good, and kind of an unintended negative with perfection is that everything starts to become the same. Cars were great because of their flaws. They were great because they were chasing perfection. So in a sea of sameness, you have to start to sell the vapor, right? The fairy dust, as McConaughey said, or so. You gotta sell the sizzle, right? Like, so how do you do that? You turn the Corvette, which is everybody wants the aura of a Corvette or a Mustang, but that comes with certain inconveniences that they don't want. So if you can sell them the name with all of the convenience, I mean, dude, come on. We know buyers are usually pretty weak-minded as a mass buying public, and they're gonna go that route. They'll take that hook, line, and sinker if it's offered to them. Having said that, I mean, yes, initially we hear like there's rumors of a four-door Mustang and we get pissy. But really, like, take the name out of it. Is this an all bad thing? If there was a four-door swoopy V8 Coyote car, especially with a manual transmission, like that would appeal to a lot of people that want the Mustang but can't really do the Mustang if you've got kids, or there's a lot of variables. Um,
But don't you think it kind of dilutes the brand name a little bit?
I
Like
do.
when you hear Mustang, you immediately think rear wheel drive, front engine, pony car,
Yes, you
two
can
door,
have.
two door.
Yes, Ford, you can have more than one performance car. Like, and they can have two names. It's not, call it the Falcon, call it the Galaxy, call it the Fairlane, call it something freaking new. You don't have to reuse names. You could actually, the amount of names are limitless. Come up with something awesome. You know what I mean? And call it that. I don't fully understand. I've heard people say, I don't know what the truth is to this, that, with the EPA and all this regulatory shit that car companies are having to deal with now, that if you can make an EV Mustang, it balances out the gas burner, the horrible miles per gallon of a
Yeah.
Mustang. So across the board, they can say, look, the Mustang, including all of them, gets a combined 26 miles per gallon or whatever.
That
Um,
makes some sense. I mean, that's a way to get around government regulation, but is it worth the potential of really killing your marketability? Now, obviously they're doing this because the Mustang is their flagship platform and it is probably the most searched and the most popular vehicle that they sell whenever it comes to like actual enthusiasts and people getting excited about a brand. But what happens if one of these cars that comes out is a total flop? Like for example, the Mach E Mustang. That car was a total boner killer, and it absolutely, in my opinion, kind of just made the Mustang name not as cool as it was before, simply because it was associated with that thing.
yeah, I mean, it's going to age horribly. I,
Mm,
I wrote an article where I was like, it's going to age like wearing a mask in your photos. Like, people are going to look back for decades and be like, what happened there? At least that's what we think. People that
yeah,
are like minded to us are going to look back and say that. But the
yeah.
way the world's going, I can't speak for how soft people are going to be in 30 years,
Mm,
Yeah, again, it's just a rumor. I think it was one of those situations where they were talking to some key dealers, and it's like, they make you put your phone, they take your phone so you can't take pictures. It also sounds almost like some really hip, trendy new marketing scheme. Instead of revealing a car, you kind of leak it to key dealers who kind of talk about it. I mean, if they saw any pictures, they could. I mean, even if they didn't have a phone, they could absolutely just draw what this thing looked like. Um,
mm,
and I don't think the Mustang was the only thing they're talking about. I saw that they're talking about maybe turning the Maverick into a van for, work truck, something to replace the Transit Connect, um, stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. At this point, nothing's going to hurt more than the Mach E.
true. And
Like,
it's funny. I see a lot of people confusing. I read a lot of comments before we jumped on this podcast of people just kind of taking this whole idea to task, and I'm seeing a lot of comments where people are confusing model with brand. A lot of people are justifying it and saying, "Well, look at Porsche. They're out there making the Macan and the Taycan, and I mean, what do they got that? I mean, they've got
I,
so many different things now. They no longer just make the two door sports car. They've expanded and started making family cars, and that's great. But they don't call those four door monsters 911s.
yeah,
Like that's kind of the equivalent of what Ford is doing here.
yeah. At the end of the day, I think it just goes to show you kind of how out of touch. I
Mm-hmm.
think we the car industry has gotten so muddied that there's so many people, there's so many suits, there's so many investors, there's so many control groups of people that really don't know about cars, so much political correctness, so much algorithm, so much of all of this stuff, right? These marketing agencies and ad agencies, and they all have a freaking thing to say, and I think that a lot of them, we've dealt with this, a lot of the marketing agencies and ad agencies in the automotive industry do not understand cars. They just have an automotive client, but these are the kinds of people that ride electric scooters to work in the city. So like they're not really in touch with what a Mustang is. I
Mm-hmm.
would bet that if you went into these marketing agencies and got in the boardroom and said, "All right, if you can drive a stick, raise your hand." You're not going to see any hands go up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so these are the guys that are presenting marketing plans and long term and short term to Ford. And Ford, shit, Jim Farley probably loves cars, but they make cars for people that don't. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that, they just go, well, the Mustang name holds weight, use it,
Yeah.
Um, the flip side of that is it holds weight because it's been consistently iconic and good for decades. And it takes time to build that. And you can destroy it in a couple of years of bad decisions and virtue signaling and woke marketing and all this kind of crap that we're seeing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it kind of begs the question, like, what's in a name? Like, I was working on an article. I haven't posted it yet, but it will be posted by the time this podcast comes out. But it is actually David Saddlebrook Windsor wrote it, and I was kind of messing with it. But we were talking about that, like certain names carry weight, whether it's like performance, prestige, durability, they carry weight for a reason, but we're in a trend right now to where it's not just Ford, that's doing this. Like everybody is trying to bring back names of the past. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. A Ford or a Mustang is kind of in that, we'll see. I'm excited about the car, not sure. I mean, you guys could name it anything. It's like naming your second born after your firstborn. Why? Like,
Yeah.
like, why would you do that? But
Yeah. We
this
got a
article
boy and a
really,
girl. They're both named Chuck for some reason. I don't
yeah,
know why.
my Daryl and my other brother Daryl or whatever that commercial was from back in the day. Um, but yeah, I mean, we were talking about that, and I can go through some. It might be fun to kind of go through a couple because some were done well, some have pulled it off, and some have absolutely, just pissed everybody off. For example, the Eclipse Cross, like that car's irrelevant. And so is Mitsubishi
Yeah.
at this point. But how the Eclipse, you and I both had second gen Eclipses. So, this is a little bit personal, but like the Eclipse was a staple in the 90s tuner scene.
Mm-hmm.
And they took that and they made it an absolutely awful crossover. Not even like a
Yeah.
good cross. You know what I mean? Like the Eclipse was the first car in the first Fast and Furious. Like that's how significant it was.
Yeah.
It was one of the first affordable, like potent turbo little four bangers where like the aftermarket just made this thing so hilariously fun. And
Mm-hmm.
and to take that name and put it on something that has nothing to do with what that car was is just to me a total freaking failure.
The timeline of how Mitsubishi just absolutely ruined the history of the Eclipse is insane.
Yeah.
The first and second gens were so good. Third gen was an absolute disaster. You would think they would learn from their lesson, go back to their roots, especially since they then started making the Evo, which was basically the same motor. But then they make the fourth gen, which is somehow even worse. Then they give up and kill it and start making TVs. And then they come back with the rebranding of the Eclipse Cross, which was like just the biggest. It's kind of like the beginning of this sub branding thing, but it literally failed so hard that they didn't even get the first car moving in the right direction. So it all
I
died.
just nobody that would even think about buying that car even cares what the hell it's called. They're just they're just literally not even trying. They're just going to get a car. Like, they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
that one, that's fine. I don't care. Um,
Yeah.
so why would you use a name that would piss what little fan base you have piss them off to no end. You know what I mean? Like,
I swear I think they did it because they were just like, what do people search when on Google when it comes to Mitsubishi? And everybody was like, the Eclipse. Yeah,
yeah,
I think
I
that's
get,
really what it was.
yeah, I promise you, they were like the people that drove the Eclipse 20 years ago have grown up and they have families now, and so they need something. And if we call it an Eclipse Cross, they'll come back. You know, it's just it's so out of touch.
Hmm.
It's hilarious and disturbing all at the same time. Um,
Yeah,
Another one, while we're talking about awful crossovers, is the new Dodge Hornet. Like, what the
yeah,
hell is happening to Dodge? I know what's happening. Stellantis is happening to
yeah,
Dodge, but
yeah.
Dodge is fucked. Like what? Like what are they gonna like? All right, let's forget about
Sorry,
the.
Susan.
Yeah, sorry, Susan. Forget about the Challenger and the Charger. This The Dodge Hornet would have passed if the Challenger and Charger were still in existence. But now
Yeah.
those cars are changing. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Hornet, they're selling you on performance from a crossover that is a hybrid, that is an Alfa Romeo with a Dodge nose on it and a different color. And they're using the Hornet, which was an awesome muscle car because it was a small body car with a big freaking engine. Like
Yeah.
that is a winning formula. Small car, big sting, Hornet, the name makes sense. You
Hmm.
put that name on a crossover made by Alpha, and it's pathetic, dude.
Yeah.
And they're lying through their teeth. You know, they're trying to market this thing. I see it on Facebook all the time, and it's like watching somebody beat a puppy. Like they're just getting drugged through the dirt in the comments, man. Like nobody is about this thing except for the poor, hopeless, single girl that just bought it. That's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I love it, you know? And
Hmm.
everybody's like, go away, Claire. You know, like it's just it's just man, it's like David Windsor was saying in the article, like sometimes you need to realize the mistake and pull the plug. And that is the Hornet. And on top of it, just not being interesting at all, it's already going through all sorts of recalls and problems or something. The people that did buy it are having problems, and I think they have like a 440-day, what is it, overstock supply or something like that. Like
Hmm.
nobody's buying this thing.
Yeah.
However, then you have cars like I know we kind of a little bit different of opinion. I'm kind of charmed by the Ford Maverick. Um,
Kinda. You've been talking about the damn thing nonstop for a month
because
now.
there's something about it. It's just it's just it's like I don't know. I was gonna say perfected mediocrity, but that's not the right word. It feels it
It,
feels
it
the
has potential, is what it is. It has potential to be cool, and it checks a lot of boxes for people who, you know.
well, it fills the void. Like the truck market has gone bananas. Everything's too big and too expensive. And so Ford came in with an at least relatively inexpensive small truck.
Hmm.
And there's something about it being a little unibody that makes it kind of cool. It looks like something that would be fun to modify when you get in the Maverick. The interior, it's just different. Every car interior now looks like an iPad commercial, and then this looks like cars would look in 2024 if the iPhone hadn't been invented. It's cool. I mean, it's got shape and texture and color and it's just neat. And sometimes simplicity is beautiful and that's all you need. And like we've kind of lost that in the modern automotive world. And all of that makes an interesting little package. But they called it a Maverick. And the Maverick was never a head turning car. Like they reused the name of a car that wasn't that great. It's kind of a cool
Hmm.
sounding name. I mean, we all like Top Gun too, but like
Yeah.
it was never a truck. So like when you first heard that they were using the name for like this small little mini truck, you're like, what? But it worked. It's for somehow it works. It's not it's not faking a funk. It's not trying to be something that it's not. It's just kind of an endearing little truck.
Yeah, I mean, they took the name of a cool vehicle that never lived up to how cool the name was. I guess is the best way I could put it. It's okay to reuse that name because it's like the car they gave it to the first time was not good enough. So now let's give it to this quirky little cool truck that might potentially reset the small truck market.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be that truck. I think we're going to start to see other competitors from other brands come out. And it's
Hmm.
cool. I mean, that's significant. So maybe at the second chance of a name, like the Maverick actually does something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, then you got the Bronco. I mean, the Bronco, they brought back a name and they executed just about as perfectly as you can. I
I mean,
mean,
they
they,
literally brought it back exactly how it was rolled out the first time. You've got the Bronco Sport, which is basically the Bronco 2, and then you've got the big badass true Bronco. They literally did it the same way.
well, and like the original Bronco, you know, your top comes down, your doors come off. It's, by today's standards, it's definitely rugged, it's definitely capable, but it's still road trippable. You know, like they really hit a home run. They hit the nail on the head with the Bronco. It deserves the name. You know what I mean? Like they didn't fake anything. They said we're gonna bring back the Bronco, and they freaking did it.
Hmm.
Then you have, while we're on Ford, the Mach E, which we already talked about a little bit. But what I can't figure out is kind of what I was just talking about. That, like, by using the Mustang name, they really pissed off their loyal fan base,
Hmm.
and nobody's gonna buy a Mustang Mach E because of the Mustang name. They're buying it because for whatever reason they didn't want a Tesla. Like the people that buy that car are not, they don't give a shit about. I would almost think the Mustang name would be a little bit of a turnoff, a little bit of a stigma, you know, for an EV owner.
Yeah.
Um, and again, like we said, I don't know if they did that as some sort of bending the rules of mandates and EPA and all that kind of stuff, or if they just totally misread the room.
It's hard to say. I don't know if it's. I mean, the fact that the sales aren't that great on that thing. Well, there's so much at play here. Coming out of COVID, all the recalls, the fact that they just don't know what they don't know about the whole EV sector. Still, it's hard to say. But I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that the car in general was kind of a flop. How much of that has to do with the name? I don't know. I think it was a lot because a lot of people were turned off, at least online, talking shit about that car and the fact that it should have never been called the Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah, I mean, let's just pretend. I know, you know, again, they did it because the name holds weight, but let's just pretend they called it like a fusion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a
That'd have
fusion
been a great
EV.
name for it.
It actually kind of fits, but it would have been what it was, but it wouldn't have had the hate. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot say anything online about a Mustang Mach E without the Mustang fan base just ripping it apart.
Yeah.
It kind of, you know, you mentioned maybe they do it for, you know, to kind of SEO reasons, right? Because the Mustang name is popular. Well, they're getting more bad press, you know, like by doing that, it's getting made fun of more than if they'd have just called it a Fusion EV, and the Mustang Nation would have been like, yeah, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like not for me, but whatever.
Yeah.
um,
Devil's advocate though. Devil's advocate though. What if these marketing gurus are just a hell of a lot smarter than we think that they are, and they're doing this all because of the AI that they see coming, over the hill really quickly, actually, and they know a lot more about it than we do, and that's why they're starting to run down this whole sub brand thing. It's weird that it's happening at the exact same time.
you know what though? It's not. I mean, that reminds me. I mean, look at what BMW's been doing. They're putting M badges on everything.
They can
So
mark it up more and sell it for more.
yeah, the M badge has been raped and plundered. You know what I mean? Like they put it on everything now because they know that people will pay more for the M badge and blue stitching in the steering wheel.
Yep.
And they don't want necessarily more performance. They don't want any of the inconveniences or harsh ride that a true M car would deliver. I mean, it's kind of like car companies have just accepted the fate that they're turning into designer handbags. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that might be true.
you're buying the name, you're buying the badge, and I mean, pretty soon, if EVs really do take over, it's not really going to matter. It's all going to be essentially the same skateboard running the same Chinese battery. So how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? You have to have an iconic name, which is the handbag print, that people are going to buy and spend more for.
That's true. I mean, why sell the cheapest version of what you're making when for just a little bit more manufacturing cost, you can sell the way, way, way more expensive version. We see that happening with Jeeps all the time. Like, who the hell actually buys like a base model Jeep Wrangler nowadays? Every single one that you see is coming outfitted with big old mud tires and nice wheels, and it's got a lift and everything, and it's at minimum a $60,000 vehicle when
Yeah.
you used to be able to get them for like low 30s. But nobody buys that one anymore. That one's
Yeah.
like not even available.
Yeah. Technically, you can, but good luck finding it. You
Yeah,
can't actually do it.
yeah.
Um,
See, that's the anti-tuner way of doing it. When we grew up messing with cars, I remember we would go out of our way to get kind of like we wanted no creature comforts. We just wanted the one that had the best motor and transmission, and we kind of didn't care about the rest.
yeah.
But now everybody they want it all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it wasn't offered to us then. Like
Mm-hmm.
the best you could get by today's standards would be entry level. So once they figured out, oh wait, we can work with Fox shocks directly, put these on the car, warranty it, and jack up the price 400% from what it costs us on those shocks, and these guys will buy it and finance it and post it and hashtag it and all of that.
Yeah.
It changed everything. People don't, I think in the digital social media age, people don't buy sensibly anymore.
Mm-mm.
They buy to show out. So the
Yeah.
price of Jeeps it can now touch six figures. It's like
Yeah.
what are we? That is so not what a Jeep is, but
Yeah.
but it is now.
I've also learned that more people now than ever, I don't know if it's just because the cars are so much more complicated now, but more people are less inclined to buy a car with the intentions of modifying it. It's almost like
Yeah,
they just give up before you even get to turn the first wrench. I used to buy every car thinking immediately, all right, exhaust, intake, boost controller, we're going to lower it, nice wheels, tires, brakes, suspension, like we're going to do the whole thing. But now instead, it's just like I don't have to do all that stuff. I'll just pay the dealer an extra $30,000. I'll make payments on it, so then I kind of like won't feel it all at the same time, and I'll get the car that I want. And that's a different way of looking at it. I don't think it's my favorite way of looking at it, but that's kind of what's
yeah,
happening now.
yeah. No, to me it sounds boring.
Yeah.
Like when you get the car, that's just the beginning of the adventure. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
end,
Yep.
But I had somebody, an older guy, that was talking to me the other day about the new ZR1 and Z06 and all that. He's like, man, it's just incredible that you can just, I mean, dude, turnkey. You don't have to do anything, And I was like, have to, Like I was like,
Yeah.
man, I want to, Like,
Yeah.
where do you go from a ZR1? Like, like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
It's just a different mentality. Like a lot of people thought that, oh, you put exhaust on your car so you can be loud and people will look at you. No, I put the exhaust on there because I wanted to make the car better than what it was before. Because that's what I like about cars and anything. Honestly, I want to make it better than it was when I got my hands on it. It's just a different mentality.
Well, and that's what put the culture in car culture. Like
Mm-hmm.
the whole reason that this exists since the shit 30s or whatever it was, since the bootlegging days, people realized shit even before that they could tweak this stuff and get gains, and that made it fun, and that
Mm-hmm.
created hot rodders, and that created, the whole car culture. What if you're just buying fast cars? I mean, what's the difference between that and just a really good dishwasher that washes faster than, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's whatever. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time, but like, you can take a Tesla or an EV and it goes undeniably fast. For
Mhm.
example, it'll beat the socks off of my little big turbo Fiesta ST. I get it. But the way that a big turbo Fiesta ST makes power is like so much more radical and thrilling. It doesn't matter if the Tesla's 10 car lengths ahead. Like it's like it's the anticipation boost. You feel like you're the fastest guy in the world. Like that's
Yeah.
what makes car culture cool. And every cool car has its own way of doing it. Maybe it's a Honda with VTEC, and that's your anticipation. Maybe it's some giant displacement V8 badassery, and it's just like it's all got its own thrill. The
Yeah.
EV thing, and once you get to the ZR1 levels of performance, I mean, I'm not saying that car is not thrilling, but like it's just different. You can't, you know what I mean? It's perfection, and it sucks. It's just
Well, it's not even perfection. It's perfecting the one thing that like every car enthusiast was obsessed with when they first got into cars. I see it in my kids now. Like my little 9-year-old is always like, Dad, what's the fastest car out there? Who runs the quickest quarter mile time? Who's got the highest top speed? It was all about what were your best numbers and who has the best numbers, who is the fastest. And I remember being that way when I first got into cars. And then when I learned how to like actually drive and modify a car and take a car on track, I quickly found out that that is a really dumb way to look at cars. And the whole EV thing, they've done a really good job because that style of thinking does appeal to the masses. It really does. And that was a big thing when EVs were first coming around. You'd look at them and say the batteries don't last very long. They're ugly, they're stupid looking, and they're really, really slow. Well, guess what? Now they're stupid fast,
yeah.
but it's the wrong kind of fast. I know we say this all the time, but there is just something special about driving a slow car fast. That mechanical connection between man and machine, controlling it, taking the turns, hitting the brakes when you're supposed to, having that perfect gear shift. There's just something about it that takes you back to your childhood, and it feels just so awesome and controlled and just pure fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, a point and shoot car like a Tesla or any of these other new performance cars, like it's easy to sell 0 to 60 to somebody that doesn't know shit about cars, really.
Yeah.
Like that's an easy sell. You can sell them that. It is
Mm-hmm.
not easy to explain to them why a Miata is going to engage them and satisfy them more than the car that does 0 to 60 twice as fast, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
don't get that because they don't get it. They don't have the perspective. It's a hard sell. Um, 0 to 60 is an easy sell. The problem is it's not even measurable anymore. That's not back in the day, we used to measure cars by like a 0 to 60 because it was measurable. Now they're like, this one does it in 1.72 and this one does it in
Right.
1.78. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Uh, like, kind of speed is irrelevant. Like,
Mm.
if you can afford it, you can have it now. It's not anything you really have to work for or tweak. So at that point, are we even chasing it anymore? We were historically chasing speed, but then we caught it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like now the car enthusiasts have to start going, well, there's more. There's more than just speed. If we slow it down a little bit, we actually have more time to enjoy the experience. I'm getting off topic, but the other morning I was outside, just making sure there weren't frogs in the pool. And it was kind of early. There was still dew on the grass or whatever, and I never saw the car, but a car went by the front of my house, and I kind of live on like a curve and then another curve. And this thing sounded amazing. It was definitely a V8. You know what I mean? I'm assuming it was like a C6 Z06. It was a manual transmission. That's why I'm saying like C6. And he was getting it. And it was just breaking the silence of the morning. And it was badass. And it literally made me go, holy shit, what am I doing? I need to go. I'm gonna go trade in that damn Fiesta or something and get me a vet. Like I had that moment. But I was listening to him. He go, a stop sign a mile up the road. I could still hear him. And it was it was that every time. Like he came out of the bend around my house and was, and I was like, man, that is so badass.
Yeah.
Like you
And you know
sold
that
me.
guy was having just a phenomenal time in his car
Well,
too.
but he wasn't able to like. So he sold me. Like I was like, that was
Mhm.
fucking badass. Like I had goosebumps the whole 9 yards. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, he is going first, second, get out of it because he's going too fast. And I'm like, you, all right, you are enjoying 10% of your car, and that's all you can fucking enjoy. Sorry, Susan. I don't know why I keep cussing, but like we need to understand and have the maturity as car enthusiasts to maybe be a little bit less mature and go, you know what? Like, it's not, I would rather have a car that I can enjoy 75% of,
Mhm.
enjoy those moments, stretch out the gears, enjoy them a little bit more, snag the next one, keep going. Not like, oh God, I'm going to go to prison on my way back from getting coffee because I was going 130 miles an hour in a
Yeah.
55. Like, this is insanity. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's
I can
awesome
definitely.
and equally as stupid. Like it's like having a badass gun that you can't shoot because you got neighbors all around you. And you're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
check this thing out. Every once in a while I take it to the range, but other than that, it just looks badass and I just can't really play with it. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude. No, I 100% relate to that because I have a supercharged S550 Mustang that is the same thing. It's pretty useless. It looks great. It sounds great. It gets all the head turns you could ever want. You don't really enjoy driving the car though because it's way too fast for any of the roads that are around here. And if you get on a highway, you're just going to sit in traffic and make your left leg really, really strong, pushing the clutch in and out. Meanwhile, every time I drive my Evo or every time I drove that Type R that we built, I have a freaking great time because they're just brappy, fun cars that you can have fun in basically at any speed.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. There's a place for both. But I think that we all need, it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, I guess that's what makes car culture great, right? Like we all
Mhm.
bring our different little things to the table, but you're exactly right because I've been in your Mustang a lot and I've been in your Type R. Hell, I owned your Type R for a little while
Yeah.
technically. So, I understand. The Mustang is like, God, dude, do you realize how big of badasses we are right now sitting in this thing? Your car sounds like an airplane, a fast one, not like a like a fighter jet everywhere it goes. But at the same time, are you going to fire that car up in your neighborhood, your little cute neighborhood, and go get milk? Like,
No.
like that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. So like, it's a badass car that gets used 5 or 10% of the time you use cars, and then when you use it, you use 5 to 10% of the car.
Perfect example. I went. Cooper said he wanted me to take him to football practice in the Mustang the other day. I went to go get in it, got him all situated, went to go turn it on. Dead battery. Why? Because it's been sitting in my garage for freaking ever, not running. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah, that's the reality. But anyway, we got off topic. Should we go
Sure
back to
did.
our little list, talk about other names? Or are we over that? Think about the Countach. The
Yeah.
Countach was one.
Yep.
They brought that name back from the 80s and
Mm-hmm.
they kind of slayed it. Like it was awesome. It's awesome. And I don't even care about look, after everything we just said, it goes to show that I'm a diehard car enthusiast that really doesn't care about supercars. You know,
Yeah.
but I think at this point they're not really handcrafted anymore for the most part. Most of them are Volkswagens of some sort. They're kind of made for posers. They're very impressive, but I don't really care, so I don't pay attention to the numbers. But that Countach had me paying attention to a supercar again. It had me kind of wide eyed, like when I was a kid, and there was a Lamborghini poster on my wall. So
Yeah.
like that was another like they brought back a name, but they kept the essence of what that car was, the presence of it. Man, you felt it.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
Dodge with the Challenger and Charger, not the new one. I'm talking about like 15 years ago or whatever it was. Like they killed it. They brought back the Charger and the Challenger, and they resurrected an energy that they hadn't seen since the muscle car days. Like they brought back modern muscle to their brand. Look at
Yeah.
the following that these cars, look at what SRT has done.
Yeah.
So they killed it. But now in 2024, they're using the success that they had for the past 20 years, whatever it is, 15 years now, and they're trying to put that in an EV and sell it as muscle with
Yeah.
fake exhausts, calling it a Charger, Daytona,
Yeah.
Fratzonic chambers, all of these cool, badass words, and it's all phony. It's
It all just
but
means fake exhaust noise. It's pretty words that mean fake exhaust noise. Have you noticed? We haven't really talked about it much, but Stellantis is just filled with bad news all around them. They're talking about shutting down brands, shutting down facilities, laying off workers nonstop. Pretty much ever since they announced that their two flagship cars, the Charger and the Challenger, the gas-powered V8 versions that everyone loves so damn much, are no longer going to be available. That was their honeypot, man. And
this
for some reason they left. They left the
this
fishing
was
hole.
this is the bed that Stellantis has made when
Hmm.
they went.
That's why Tim
Look, say,
Kuniskis pieced out, man.
not trying to be political, but there was a fork in the road. They were going to conform or they were going to be fucking Dodge. And
Mhm.
they conformed because of Stellantis. They said, this is what we're doing. And Tim Kuniskis said, I'm out. I, I
Yeah.
will I will get this set up. I will get this car set up. I will lie through my fucking teeth and try and make this sound like it's cool. It's not cool. It's fake. It's poser. And it alienates the aftermarket. They're putting more performance behind paid firewalls and alienating the aftermarket. It is so not Dodge. It is
Yeah.
so not the Brotherhood. And that goes back to the Hornet. I don't think Dodge survives this. Unless there is some sort of a great awakening, not woke, but awakening at Stellantis, they're not going to survive this. There's no way. You cannot. I don't know what happened to the world in the last 4 years, but you can be out of touch for a little while and that be a little trend. But like eventually, the chickens are going to come home to roost, man. You
I mean, what are they gonna sell? Like, what do they have to sell right now? Be honest with yourself. What are they gonna sell?
a Pacifica?
Maybe.
No, that's a Chrysler.
I mean, they're putting all their eggs in the basket that all of a sudden there's just going to be more EV early adopters. And they're hoping that it's the people who loved their V8 Chargers and Challengers who are just going to come in and swoop in and buy this thing. And I don't think that's
Yeah,
going to happen
they're putting
at
their
all.
eggs in the basket that the government's going to force us to buy it, so it's going to be
Yeah.
okay. But that's not panning out.
Mm-mm.
And like I said, had Dodge been Dodge, I mean, had Dodge just gone, you know what? I'm not fucking doing it. Bring on the fines. Like that would have been cool. That would have heightened them to even the next level. The only thing that they can do here, and this may sound crude, is go to rappers and sports people and make athletes, I guess is the word for sports people,
Sports people.
and make them ambassadors of the brand, which means give them cars
Yep.
and basically make them sign a contract that says drop the name, the EV charger into your rap song and, whatever. Like basically be an influencer with this car so that we can try and make it trendy to the people that are going to follow the trends.
Mm-hmm.
But, the people that really love Dodge, man, they're not doing this. They're not doing it. Again, you might get young people that have money to blow and want to show out, and just do it. Kind of like people that buy the Cybertruck, but like, man, and the thing's going to be like 65, 75 grand or something. Like, there's a
Yeah.
long list of better options.
Mm-hmm.
And the Charger is going to have the Hurricane motor option, the inline six forced induction, but I haven't seen anybody even Embrace that. Like you or me would think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Dodge boys, nah. I don't even think it's cool in a Dodge. I think it's cool in a Nissan. I think it's cool in a Toyota. Dodge is
Mm-hmm.
Dodge. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
the
that's the,
Brotherhood wants V8s. They just
absolutely.
do.
That's what Dodge is. You can't. It's like Motley Crue making dentist elevator music. Like, is that a good analogy? You can't
It
fucking do
is
it.
elevator.
It's not gonna work. You're gonna go out of business. You're gonna sell 10 cars.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Um,
ugly. I don't
or
envy
maybe,
the
hey,
situation they put themselves in.
maybe we're the ones that are out of touch, or the only sane ones left. But I don't think so, dude. Uh, anyway, what else do we have? Oh, what about the Supra? That was a name that got brought back.
Yeah, and I love the fact they brought it back and they did everything right except for no target top, and it's a damn BMW. And they brought it back in the beginning with no manual transmission. They did a lot wrong. All right, they kind of biffed it. Yeah,
Exactly
there's
how
a
I
reason I
thought
didn't
about it.
buy one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I think about it. You're like, yeah, they brought that car back and they went, well, and then it was a automatic and it's a freaking BMW and it's always going to have an asterisk next to it because it's a BMW. You sit in it and it's a BMW. Like, so I, I mean, I guess we're happy it's here. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like at this point, what are we, 5 years in or something? Like,
Hmm.
I think it is what it is. A
Yeah,
BMW with a Supra badge.
yeah.
So that one's kind of like, it could have been. It doesn't have the heart that the Toyota Nation wanted. Uh,
The new Nissan Z is a better shot. That was a
yeah,
better
but
shot
nobody can get excited about that car for some reason, even though
because you can't get it. They're like not available anywhere.
they are kind of a myth.
Yeah,
I think they've been out for 2 years. I've
I
seen
think
like
I've seen
one.
like three.
Yeah, and two of them were at like SEMA. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about if that car exists. There's the Hummer EV, where they brought back the Hummer name. Now, the Hummer
Mhm.
was like the most uneco-friendly car in the 21st century, and
And
they
now it's the
brought it
most
back as
uneco-friendly EV you could ever imagine. It's like imagine the worst possible EV ever. Now multiply it by two, and you're almost there to what the Hummer EV. Like seriously, it is a 10,000 pound piece of shit that's supposed to off-road, but kills itself every time you try to go off-road.
or get it
And the
wet.
battery weighs as much as a freaking normal SUV. I mean, everything about that thing is wrong.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you could argue is that it does stay true to the original in being totally wasteful
Just a,
and not eco-friendly,
just a
even though they sell it
gargantuan
on a lie of sustainability and we all know it, but they just go with it.
just a gargantuan piece of shit.
Yep. Okay, that's the Hummer EV. The Chevy Blazer. Who cares? We know
Who
they blew
cares?
that one. I mean, that was rough. The Integra that got borderline violent. like, like when they
Yeah.
released. Oh my gosh! In this article, I was trying to say when they when there was just rumors that the Acura Integra was coming out, everybody started doing renderings. Based on a two door, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and the worst rendering that we ever saw was the actual one that Acura did to build the car. It was god awful. The only, like I said, I think it was like one notch below violent. I think that the Honda Nation was not just pissed; they were ready to go to Ohio and burn Acura down for building this thing and putting an Integra badge on it. And the only thing
Yeah.
that saved it was the Type S,
Yeah.
which is rad. The problem is it prices itself out of the market of what it's gonna. I'm not gonna say it's gonna fail because it's a cool car, but it's not gonna succeed because the people that want it can't afford it, and the people that can afford it don't want that.
Yeah.
It just falls into a weird car culture is in a weird spot because as consumers, as enthusiasts, we are really picky and finicky. We want
Mm-hmm.
all the power. But then when the cars come out at 60 grand, we don't want to pay that. So we need to humble ourselves and realize maybe I don't need all the power. It goes back to what we were saying. I just need a good blank canvas. Give me
Mm-hmm.
something with good bones and let me start to play with it. And I won't have $1,000 a month car payment on it. And that would be cool. Like That's the problem is, and I worry about that. That kind of leads us into the MR2 and the Celica, which are also rumors right now, but allegedly, the rumor is they're coming back. And with the MR2 and Celica, it's going to be a Toyota built engine, which is cool because we get away from that Supra BMW thing and we get the Toyota engine that Toyota's owners actually want, because that's why you buy a Toyota. Um, it's not for BMW unreliability. anyway, the MR2 is going to be mid-engine, all-wheel drive, four-banger, around 300 horsepower, turbo. Celica will run the same engine, all-wheel drive, but front engine. These are both rad, but they have got to not price themselves out of the market. You can't have a Toyota MR2 that's Porsche priced. It's
Yeah.
just you'll sell a few, you know what I mean, to the Toyota loyalists, but they need to sell more than a few. They need a renaissance. They need to shock the buying
Although
public with these things.
wasn't the original MR2 kind of a pricey car?
I don't think the original. I think the second gen it got out of hand. So the first
Yeah.
one, the angular one, I forget what they call it. That one was cool. It was maybe a little bit more expensive, but
Mm,
affordable. The second one, they ramped everything up. It got bigger, heavier, more powerful, turbocharged. And I don't remember. I think it was touching 30 grand back in the early 90s,
yeah.
which put it up there with, you know, 300 ZXs and stuff like that. um,
Yeah.
so, the MR2 and the Supra, they're bringing back the names, but they're bringing back the cars.
Hmm.
That's how you do it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't bring back the MR2 and I'm sorry, MR2 and Celica name and put it on crossovers. You bringing back the car, what the car originally was. So that's cool. Like I said,
Yeah.
they gotta watch
Exactly.
the prices, and I get it. Everything's expensive. I get it, but car culture thrives when it's an affordable entry point.
Yeah. And coming full circle back here, talking about names again, the good thing is these are just renderings and ideas, so Jim Farley, you got plenty of time to change this and go down the right path and pick a cool name. So instead of hitting me in the face next time you see me, just thank me and let's talk about some names together.
He might see you too, because he
I
was
know.
at he was at Laguna Seca this weekend at Monterey Car Week, and he was racing.
I know.
So there's a good chance you might hear somebody go, "Hey, are you Mike Sanders?" Yep. Um,
I'd eat that hit with pride. That'd be fine.
no, yeah. I mean, we like Jim Farley. He's so
Mm.
freaking honest that sometimes it scrambles your brain. I appreciate that. Maybe he'll go out there and race some cars and you know
Yeah.
find his find Ford's balls a little bit. Um, yeah. I think that's about it. That's more or less the cars that we were running through in the article.
Mm.
um, so it's interesting, I guess, in conclusion, like what is in a name, because some of these names bring back like glorious, iconic feelings of yesteryear. Some completely enrage you and make you want to punch a hole in the wall, like the Eclipse Cross. You know what I mean? It's like, it's interesting how right or wrong it can go, depending. I guess it all boils down to authenticity. Like,
Yeah.
that's what the automotive industry is struggling with right now is authenticity.
Hmm.
So I think if they can dial into that, and we get it, cars are more complex than ever. It is harder to make an authentic car than it was in the 80s and 90s. But if
Yeah.
but that's not our mission. That's their mission. Like they've like if they can figure out how to dial into what truly connects people to cars beyond just, oh, this one makes 10 more horsepower than that other one, like if they can dial back into it, then they have authenticity. If they have authenticity, it doesn't matter what you call it.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't go down the path that they're going down right now so much to the point where they allow the consumers to fall out of love with the automobile, because that's what it feels like is happening.
I mean,
Like when you go car shopping now, I feel like I'm buying a refrigerator instead of a life changing car. And that sucks because cars are too expensive for it to be a damn appliance.
yeah, I would say we're already there. I would say the average person really doesn't think about their car or care about their car at all. Versus, I think 30 years ago, like let's say in the mid 90s, the eh, the average person might not have really cared, but there was definitely more people that spoke the language of cars. You know what I mean? Like there was a better chance that your dad drove something with a manual transmission. You know what I mean? That might have been a sports sedan. There were sports sedans. The Maxima was an actual kind of engaging car. BMWs like my E34 still had manual transmissions. So like even the family car was something that when the family wasn't in it, you could go play a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what do we do? Like, and now, at least in our region, the guys drive trucks and the girls drive crossovers or SUVs. Nobody really thinks about. They buy based on screen size,
Yeah.
and seat massagers and I don't know. The packages like we were talking about. Like everybody wants the King Ranch or the I don't know
Hmm.
whatever the hell the GM version is and all this kind of stuff. I would say that we're already there. That if you care about cars and you care about the driving experience and not just like I want go fast car, got money, give me fast car. Like if you actually kind of care about the intricacies of cars, you're the minority for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Big time minority. I mean, just driving around. If you think about like, I want to say childhood, but that's not right. When we were first running around with modified cars, being idiots in high school and college, like every single red light you came up to, there was another modified car somewhere in the traffic. They were all over the place. Now you drive around. How often do you see modified cars? And when you do see them, how often is it just like somebody's old piece of shit that's really just been abused and looked like it was first modified about 15 years ago and then
Yeah.
they kind of gave up? Like it's not what it used to be anymore at all.
Yeah, that's the key difference. Because in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and the 80s, people were buying new cars and doing that stuff.
Mm,
I remember thinking, "Oh man, 6 years old. That car is old." Like, and it's like you said, when you see the modified stuff now, it usually does not represent car culture very well.
mm,
It's usually some sort of G37 or Genesis Cooper that, like you said, has been abused, driven into the pavement. And it's not saying that there's not nice bills out there, but they're not on the road anymore.
yeah.
Again, we've gone to extremes. Like, they're either extreme pieces of shit or they're extremely nice and they don't go out. But like the answer's in here. Like, where you can kind of drive it and enjoy it every day. It's the Type
Mm,
R. It's your old Type R, stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that car culture is kind of dead, and a lot. Well, maybe that's not accurate because online it's very weird because online it's huge,
mm.
you know, but yet you go in the parking lot of any local high school and it's not huge.
Yeah, it reminds me, what we're seeing online now reminds me a lot of like MTV Cribs when it was on back in the day, where you just kind of would much rather see something awesome and kind of admire it from afar and then realize, I can't do all that. That's way too much for me. But cool thing that you did, so I give you a like and share, and then we're moving on with our life. And I see so many people that are just kind of sitting behind the pane of glass and admiring car culture, but something about that Instagram mentality does not allow them to like take the leap forward to actually get involved. And that sucks because getting into car culture is probably the coolest and most rewarding thing I've ever done with my life. It's led to so many awesome experiences and just cool friends. And I mean, this company, I mean, everything that I've done is all because I bought a piece of shit 95 Mitsubishi Eclipse GST
Yeah.
when I was 18 years old for $4,000.
I mean, it is kind of a fountain of youth. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like it keeps you thinking young. It keeps you kind of, I don't know, even if you have a corporate 9 to 5 job, like if you're driving something fun and cool there, Like it kind of just changes your whole perspective. You know what I mean? It changes everything. You are not just existing, you're living. Like you're like your heart rate's up. Everything's more fun.
Yep.
Um, and I think, I mean, ultimately, isn't it kind of up to the car makers to create car fanatics? Like they seem to really be abandoning that. I know we're kind of going long here. I think we're like at an hour, but like again, when I was a kid, when I was growing up, like 80s and 90s, car commercials were focused around not just performance, but feel, like
Mhm.
sensations, engagement. They would talk about the way that the steering wheel feels in your hands and the way the shifting feels and they were in tune with it. Uh, Now they don't talk about that. They don't market it. What do they market? Like if you watch any automotive commercial, they're marketing like the size of the screen, the fact that it connects to your phone and it'll think for you or make your reservations or whatever. It'll keep
Mhm.
you from backing into things. Like they
It's
treat
all
us like,
convenience. It's all
yeah,
convenience.
they treat us like fucking idiots,
Mhm.
and they don't need to do that. Like, I mean, eh, you don't have to cater to the people that don't really care about your product anyway and are just buying it on necessity. Like, sell the sexiness of car culture, sell what it's all about, sell the passion behind it, and you will create fans. You've got to create a car from them that's an actual entry level point. Not everything can be $45,000 with a CVT transmission. You're going to kill car culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that falls on the car manufacturers. They need to take some of their billions and actually make something cool to
Mhm.
generate car fanatics that will carry the car industry into the future. Because if not, it will be an appliance. It will turn into a subscription based thing. You will not own it. You won't care. You'll use it like you use your cell phone and then you'll dispose of it. And that,
Basically, yeah.
kids, is not sustainable.